Your Creative Push, episode 90.
I want you to know that you're more insane if you think that you can't do it than if you're going to sit there and say, I'm not going to do this because of this or this or that.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I'm your host, Youngman Brown, and my guest today is Ashley Elliott. Ashley has done her art her entire life and has always wanted to be an artist, just never kept up with it until she started painting regularly in 2013 when her father became fatally sick, and she needed a way to release what was going on inside of her. She started taking her work to Philadelphia and never stopped, and today she is recognized as a Philadelphia artist. And Ashley, I have to tell you that you are off to a good start in this interview because I am a Philadelphia native as well.
That's awesome. I love my Philadelphians.
Absolutely. So what do you find about Philly that's like really special?
Oh man, when I first started going to Philadelphia, I don't even really know what pushed me to go in that direction. I guess coming from a really small town, I wanted to take my art to a bigger city, and being from Pennsylvania, I could either go in the direction of Philly or Pittsburgh, and I picked Philly. And when I first started going there, I felt, I felt my ways about it. Like I felt good about Philly and everything, but I kind of, I still felt like a tourist there or something. I didn't feel in place. And then I just kept going back and kept going back. And it's home to me. If I could, I'd actually live there. I just love it there. I love the art scene there. It's just done so much for me.
Yeah, my wife and I are looking forward to moving back to Philly eventually,
I just
whenever we
absolutely,
can.
yeah, I just absolutely love Philly. I love the inspiration in the art scene. Like being from Pennsylvania and knowing about Philly and the whole art scene there, like I knew that it was something, but like actually going there and being a part of it and meeting all of the other people in it, like it's so entirely inspirational.
Did you do the obligatory run up the art museum steps?
I I actually have not done that yet, but that is definitely on my bucket list. No, I've been more into the underground art scenes. I mean, I kind of always look at my art as it's just like I'm following the rabbit that's, taking me down the rabbit hole. And I mean, I just somehow ended up in the underground art scene there.
I think it's important to kind of follow that rabbit. I think the rabbit, whatever the rabbit, is always an interesting path to follow. I think that not a lot of people do follow the rabbit because they're too scared. Because for a lot of people listening, they have full-time jobs, full-time gigs, and the rabbit offers this kind of unknown.
Mhm.
So I think it's really inspirational to follow that rabbit.
Absolutely. What's funny about that is that I always use that as a joke. And last time I was in Philly for the last art show I was at, I stayed at this hotel, and I walked into the room and there was a book by the nightstand, and it was Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, nice.
And my next art show is actually with a bunch of street artist names, and it's at this place called the Rabbit Hole. So,
Ooh, interesting. I
yeah.
like that. I always like when we've talked about it on the show before, actually, the synchronicities, like
Yeah.
whenever things kind of, it always feels like it's like the universe is telling you, yeah, that you're on the right path, and even if that path is a rabbit hole.
Yes, and art is just so much magic, and it creates that, and there are so many synchronicities with art, I believe.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things to explore. But you can never find those unless you actually,
Open up.
yeah, absolutely. Can you take us back to your first or maybe one of your first creative moments and tell us that story?
If we're going way, way back, um, I'll go back to when I was a little girl, when I actually, when anybody would ask, everybody as a kid gets asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always said an artist. And, naturally, a lot of grown-ups' responses to me were, no, well, no, what do you really want to be when you grow up, And I'd
Mm,
be like,
mm-hmm.
what do you mean? I want to be an artist. And it wasn't until I was in sixth grade when I actually, you know, every artist has their own thing that they paint or draw or sculpt or whatever they do, and it's almost like they didn't choose it, it chose them.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's always been people. It's always been faces, or the human body or something like that. And I remember in sixth grade, my art teacher, she was coming around, we were learning faces, and she looked down at my what I was drawing, and she said, you you do that better than people your age should be able to do that. And like, I don't know if that woman knows what she's done for me there, but she has inspired me for like the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where, for like you said, for whatever reason, people like to dismiss any kind of aspirations you might have to like pursue a creative field. I don't
Right.
know what it is. I don't know if it's they just want you to kind of be a part of their world,
Hmm.
this world that like everyone's created, where it's just go and clock in and get a paycheck and provide a steady life for yourself until you die, like kind of thing.
I
And like,
I just completely agree with you on that, and I think that I'm just one of those people who are supposed to live out of the box and to tell people no, that's
right.
not. You need to create your own system. I in fact just quit my job. Um,
Hey, nice.
yeah,
Congrats.
I thought it was so funny, like you said, synchronicities, and you contacted me about doing this interview. And whenever I'm out at art shows, whenever I'm talking to other artists, whenever I'm talking to people who love art, or I'm talking to anybody about my art who's, trying to spark up that conversation with me, I'm just constantly, I'm gonna do what I want to do in my life, that because it's too short and I want to be happy. You know, life is too short to be doing things that you don't want to be doing, spending your time doing things that you don't want to be doing. You should be able to live your life doing things that you want, that you love. I respect anybody who works. Anybody. But
Hmm.
if you want to create all day, you should be able to do that. If you want to do it, whatever you want to do all day, you should be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. This life is very fleeting. It's a very short time we have here, and it's a very rare kind of existence. So to spend it, clocking in as we were talking about, it's kind of a waste. And I love that. I love your attitude about anytime somebody wants to talk about it, that you're willing to, and that's kind of what this podcast is all about. It's
Yeah.
like that one teacher that you had that said,
Yeah.
oh, you're good. That's all it takes sometimes to encourage somebody. Like, and I think that everybody listening not only should be doing their artwork, but if they kind of see somebody that has a little bit of a piqued interest in something or a little bit of a talent in something, but they're not, really willing to do that, to really give them the creative push to just do the art, because sometimes that literally is all it takes, is the one person, like the one person in your life to say, you know what, you do have a talent and you should do this, or at least you should try to do this. So I love it.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, this is the way that I look at it. There are so many people out there who are saying no. Like if you want to be an artist, especially me coming from a small town, I know what it's like. I've seen it. I almost did it myself. It took something drastic to happen in my life until I was like, you know what? To see that life is too short, and to decide for myself that I need to do what I love. I need to be who I am inside. And if you are a creator, and if you're someone who wants to create art, that's because you're an artist. And if you're an artist, you need to keep being an artist. Whether you're going to let it out of you or not, you're an artist. And let me tell you something though, like if you let it out, it's going to evolve. It's going to take you places. It's going to create magic in your life because true art must evolve. That's just it. Like you just got to know, like you got to know that you want it with all of your heart and all of your soul. And once you decide that, then it just takes you places. The whole world opens up.
Like you said, it chooses you and you're stuck with it. Like, it's not like you have to try for it. You just kind of have to cave in. Like,
It,
you
it
just have to
almost
give into it.
Yes, it almost proves itself to you. Like,
Mm,
see, I told you. Like if you just like do this. First of all, if like you're creating something, if you're an artist, and especially if you're an artist who showcases your work or puts your work out there, first of all, it takes a really brave, courageous person to do something like that, because
mm.
that's you like bearing your soul to the world. And that's a tough thing, but it's just a hurdle. Like it's just when I used to be the most like timid, shy person you could meet. And when I went to my first show ever, like I had no idea what I was doing, but I just knew that it was worth it. That it wasn't like a narcissistic thing, like that I wanted to show my work because I wanted to be this like artists that people knew, I wanted to meet people through it. I wanted to meet other artists. I wanted to know, like, deep down inside, how my art made other people feel. And like the coolest thing ever is to watch other people look at your art and feel something completely different than what you felt when you made it. It's just such an amazing thing to make other people, or to help, not make, help other people feel things.
Absolutely, and that at the end of the day is what it's all about. It's one
Yeah.
thing to do it for yourself, but then the next kind of level is sharing it and having the bravery. Like you said, it is a terrifying thing to do, and props to anybody that is able to share their work. It's really important to do it though, because you never know and you might actually never find out exactly who you are affecting, maybe even till years later, or maybe never ever.
Yeah, maybe never. But it's an absolutely infinite thing, and it goes on forever. Like I tell people all the time, like, yeah, I'm out there doing my thing and I'm putting my art out there, and this is why it's so infinite, because I'm getting to do what I love. I'm getting to do things that make me happy, and because of that, I am a better person. Like I am a more evolved person, much more evolved than I was, before I started, like, just being me, being an artist. And but I tell people all the time, like, one of my main things is that, like, I hope that when I'm out there at shows, or when I'm out there on social medias, or I'm out there, even just no matter who I'm talking to about art, or especially in my small town, and all these people around are like, "Oh, Ashley Elliott, do you see what she's doing these days?" I want to inspire you, because I want you to know that I want you to know that you're more insane if you think that you can't do it, than if you're going to sit there and say, "I'm not going to do this because of this or this or that." That's silly.
Hmm.
That's not real.
Absolutely. And I love that attitude. And that's just the best way to be, is to not only want to do it yourself, but to inspire other people. I mean, I obviously, I'm right on board with you on
Yes.
that. So I
Yes.
appreciate it. Are there any things that held you back before and maybe hold you back on a daily basis to kind of get the work done?
To get the work done, like I said before, I quit my job recently, and so now I'm just riding on, I'm my own boss. I have to get up every morning and motivate myself to do my own thing, and when your art, and it will, because when you start doing art and you start believing in it, it will evolve. It will keep evolving, and it will start getting people's attention, and it'll start shining through, and then before you know it, you're going to start selling your art. It's going to turn into a business. And then it's going to be hard for you too, because, like, you started doing art because you just wanted to do your art, and then and then money starts getting involved. And then, like, it starts, then you can actually start your art starts supporting you. It's hard to keep that medium, like, where you're not
Hmm.
letting it, like, get to your head, or you're not letting it get to a point where it's like getting too stressful or taking your art away from you. That's a difficult thing for me to, like, balance out. But when you're a true artist, I just don't think that any of that is going to take away from it enough that the challenge is going to be too big of a challenge, that it's going to stop you from doing your art, or it's going to become like overwhelming. I think that's just another step when you are evolving as an artist.
What's like the best way to kind of defeat like the things that come up, like you're saying, like when you have to try to balance the money side of it and the creativity side of it?
I think that I think that you should just use that as, like, I don't know, like, be proud of yourself that you got to that step. Like, be proud of yourself that people are after you for your art. Like, they want to actually have your art hanging on their wall, and just don't ever get too caught up in it. Just always know your roots. Just keep your roots intact. Why you did this, why you started this, why you even started putting your art out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to get back to the roots of why you started in the first place. And I guess sometimes that's a hard thing to do when there's all different things to worry about it, and it's almost like it's not as pure of an expression, but it's hard to get back to that spot, I find sometimes.
Yeah, I think that you can get a little, like, adrift with that and everything, but that if that's my biggest challenge, like, honestly, I really don't have anything to complain about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about some things that maybe you did have something to complain about, maybe your worst moment, your hardest time with either with your art or with just getting the art done.
For me, like, I don't really feel like I really ever had too hard of a time with my art because I never really expect it too much. And if I ever did have like any time that it was hard or that I was just like, well, there were times like when I would think, well, I'm doing all this art all the time and it's piling up in my room and it's not going anywhere. And then I would kind of lose it for a while. But I think that all artists go through phases where they go through a creative wave and like they just do a whole bunch of art and then they stop for a while. But as far as like really hard times with my art, I think that hard, if it's great, no matter what, everything's just it's like a learning experience and nothing's bad and that's it. You know what I mean? And like you're always going to take I think that a lot of artists do that. They take a lot of bad things and they turn them into something great. And that's what a painting is. That's what a sculpture is. That is what a piece of art is, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And do you find that like when you look at back at all of your pieces that you can kind of recognize the place that you were at when you created it and what the things that you were going through?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
like, when I first started painting, I actually was painting because my dad got sick right away and I lost him like shortly after I started painting. But when I first started painting, it was a lot of those just feelings and emotions coming out. And I mean, since then, I think that my art has just been teaching me so much about myself. Like, you, it's always a reflection of you. So many people say to me, like, because I do paint people and I paint faces and stuff, they say the woman that you paint looks like you, and a lot of the times, even if she doesn't look like me, she kind of is me because she's what I'm feeling, or she's the person I passed on the street that I looked at their face and they didn't look happy and I felt that. Like it's always even if it's someone else, it's still me. It's still something that I was feeling or something that I was going through. Just me expressing myself just like any other piece of art is.
Would you agree that when you, like, kind of like we were saying before, when you start the art, when you just do it and it starts to evolve and it teaches you stuff, that is just, it's easy. Well, not easy, I don't want to say, but that it's just the act of doing it, and then the lessons, they just kind of naturally come from it.
I think so, absolutely. Like we talked about, the rabbit hole. I think that it's just something that, you do it and it's a pure thing and it's something that's natural. When you're an artist, you're a creator. You need to create and then you just let it happen and then you're going to realize how much of a part of you it really actually is. And then the more that you do it, it's just going to just it's for me, there are times where, like we talked about, like the difficulties and everything else, where like the business aspect of it comes into play. Sometimes I just forget about all of it and I say, you know what? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to make a piece for myself. I'm just going to sit down and make art for myself today. And then the next morning, I feel great, you know?
Yeah, it's like a form of therapy in that way, where you can kind
Oh,
of get your stuff out there.
yes, definite therapy.
Could you take us back to maybe your best moment?
My best moment, I think it was, I did Raw Artist in Philadelphia. And looking back at that, I think that's a great way for a lot of people, a lot of artists to kind of like get themselves out there, like initially, For me, I don't like even looking back on what I hung, like what I put out, the art that I took to that show. I don't think that it was like I personally don't think that it was good, but I think that all artists like that are like that. Like like something I did
Absolutely.
2 months ago, I don't think is that great. But that's good. That's a good thing for an artist to feel. Going there and watching people look at my art and watching people standing there conversing with each other, like just, over my art, picking up my business cards, walking away and saying, awesome stuff, Ashley. For me, that was like when I was a little girl and I would dream about it. I would dream about doing art shows, but I never thought it was going to happen. Like I never thought that that was going to happen. And when I seen that happening, and my mom was there and my brother was there and some other family members and we're all dressed up and we're standing there and we're watching people look at my art and appreciate it and that was like a dream come true. And it was as easy as that. Like all it was me saying, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go to Philadelphia and I'm going to go do this. And I did it. And there was my dream. It came true, like as easy as that. It's really not that hard. All it is saying, yes, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And then that's the first step. And then just wait what happens after that. Like it will take you places. You won't even have to try. Like it'll just keep taking you places as long as you just like say yes and believe in it.
Absolutely. Say yes, and just all you have to do is keep putting the time in. We talk about that on the show. It's like one of the most powerful ideas that I've kind of discovered with this show, with interviewing people, is like it's really that fucking simple. Like all you have to do is say, okay, like I'm an artist, okay, I'm a photographer, okay, I'm a writer,
Yeah.
and just start doing that every day. And yeah, you might be like a shitty one, like to start, like you might not be the best, and that's great
But it
because that
doesn't
means
matter. It doesn't matter
yeah,
as long as you tell yourself you are, and trust me, you'll tell yourself you are. You're gonna say, yes, I'm this artist, I'm this photographer, I'm this writer, and I'm taking my stuff to this show for the very first time. And trust me, for about probably even a year after that, you're gonna do a whole bunch more shows, and you're still not gonna believe you're an artist or a writer or photographer because it's not going to sink in. But people are going to start recognizing you as that, and no matter what, whether there are 90% of the people out there who don't like your stuff, which I don't even ever see that happening, but even if it were, like, there are still going to be that percentage of people who appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing and really like your stuff. Like, that is all it takes, is to say, yes, I'm going to do this. But that's the hardest part, and a lot of people don't do it.
yeah, absolutely. You have to recognize yourself as what you want to be, and kind of say it out loud to at least one other person before somebody can say to you that you are that person. You have to start doing the actual work and putting in the time, and the more you do it, the more that other people will be confident in what you're doing, confident that you, okay, yeah, oh, he is an artist, oh, he is a writer or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the more confident you become as well, instead of saying, well, I'm going to be a writer, you can say, yeah, I'm a writer. Like,
Yes.
and that's so powerful because that will help you for sure.
To be is to be perceived. And like, if you tell people you're a writer, they may not, the first day that you say it, call you a writer, but you keep telling them that you're a writer, and they're going to eventually, call you. I get even by people around here, around where I live, that don't ever go to my art shows in Philadelphia or anything like that. I pass them on the street, and they'll say, "Hey, what's up, artist?" I get called artist more than I get called my first name these days.
That's
Like,
what's up. That's cool.
yeah, yeah.
And kind of going back to the raw artist thing, so is that something that, because we've had a couple guests on the show that have talked about that group, would you suggest that for somebody just coming up, just kind of starting out?
I would.
Yeah.
I would, because you know what? That's what I did for my, just, it's like you're coming out as an artist. Like, that's the most perfect thing to do. I mean, it does cost money, unless you sell all of your tickets, and there is like the money thing involved, but it is always an amazing show. There is always an amazing turnout. And I mean, what they're doing, I think, is a great thing for artists who really do want to stand up and say, I am an artist and I want to show my stuff. Because if you're going to go to a small show for one of your first shows, I don't really think it's going to be too inspirational to you. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of, good feedback from my raw artist show. I got a lot of people who contacted me afterwards and asked me to do smaller shows. And then that's when I really started getting into the underground art scene in Philadelphia. And it kind of took me for a ride. So I would absolutely recommend raw artists, or any kind of, I'm not sure if there are any other, like, organizations that do stuff like that, but I would definitely recommend it.
Just one more way to kind of take a step into into that rabbit hole
Yeah,
we were talking about.
into the art road, when like when you're new to it and you don't really know where to go and you don't really know a whole lot of people. I think that that's a great way to get to know, like, to connect and network, and to just like put your foot in, fall down the rabbit hole.
Just take the leap.
Yep.
Ashley, we are running out of time, so it is time for the final push.
Okay.
And this is where I ask you to reach the microphone and grab the shoulder of one of the listeners that you've already really inspired today, that's thinking, maybe I could do this too, maybe I should be doing my work more, maybe I should be jumping into this rabbit hole, and give them your best advice and maybe push them into that rabbit hole.
I mean, don't think, just do it. I don't, like I mentioned before, if you think that it's a hard thing to do and you think that you're crazy for believing in your dream, I think that it's crazier to not believe in it. Like, if you want something, you just got to say yes and you got to go for it. And you just got to want it with all of your heart and all of your soul. And when you do, then people are going to start coming to you. People are going to start wanting you to do their shows. You're not going to have to try so hard. All you have to do is just have faith and like just go for it. I mean, you're crazy if you don't. Life is too short. It's, you got to do that in life which makes you happy. And if you're an artist, you got to make art, and to stand up and show your art, you're doing so much. You're being an inspiration for people who don't know where they want to go, You just got to do it. You just have to.
It's like being inspired and then inspiring others at the same time.
The infinite cycle. Yep.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Ashley, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and for giving us that push.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Of course. And you can find Ashley at her store, which is Elliott, .bigcartel.com. And on Instagram, she is the.great.ashby. And that's how I found her. ASHBY. And of course, you can find everything we talked about today at yourcreativepush.com/Ashley Elliott. Ashley, thanks again.
Thank you.
A huge thank you to Ashley for coming on the show. This was one of those episodes that really fired me up. I love her attitude, and I love just her willingness to just want to help other people, to kind of push them down the rabbit hole as well. And going down that rabbit hole isn't as scary as it sounds. It's not as much of a mystery once you kind of actually do go down it. As we say all the time on this show, and as Ashley also said, it is all about just saying that you're going to do something and just believing it in your heart and just going for it. And you will quickly realize that you are not actually falling down any kind of hole, but you're actually kind of floating up, if that makes sense. And the view is great from up there. On tomorrow's show, we have Casey DeStefano.
You are the only person in the entire world who can tell a story like you can. You are your own unique voice. No one can express your thoughts or feelings or your opinions like you do. That's what makes you unique. Only you can do that. It's your message, right? And that's what makes it interesting. So really push forward, because I have to tell you this too, and I have been in the trenches. There is no one that's going to give you a chance. You have to go out there and get the chance yourself. So you're the only one who's really responsible for your fate, right? So I would say believe in yourself and just never give up.
Casey is an accomplished director and producer in film and television, but she is now dedicating her life to a podcast called Women with Balls in the Air. It's really important to say that pause in between. But she comes on the show to talk a little bit about her journey and why she started this podcast. And I think it's really inspiring for anybody that is looking to start something new, a new creative pursuit, especially a podcast, which I highly recommend. Literally anybody can do it. As proven by me, a random dude who made a podcast about creativity, who is now 90 episodes in. Kind of crazy, but it's really as easy as doing it. But that is for you tomorrow. Hopefully today you were inspired to go and get your work done. So go and get it done. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us today. Go and get your work done, and we will see you tomorrow if you need the push again. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.